Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to the Stat Geek Q&A. This is Behind the Steel Curtain Deputy Editor Dave Schofield, once again, as always, with his big brother talking Steelers. You still doing good, Rich?
Yep, still hanging in there.
Still doing good. Still talking
Let's
Steelers.
talk some more Steelers.
Let's talk more Steelers.
I don't know if I could ever get tired of talking Steelers.
Yes. I know exactly what you mean. I don't know that I could either, because just making sure we're coming through on YouTube. Yep, there we are. Well, I tell you, first of all, man, you got to say it again. The mic sounds great. Glad that we're doing good. We're coming through clear. I'm hoping everyone's good and here and in the live chat and having a good old time. I know Mark's here from Australia. So here's what we're going to do for this one. Now we got to remember, this isn't like on Thursday night when it's like, oh yeah, when we do the after party where most of the stuff we talk about has nothing to do with the Steelers. We're still going with Steelers, but we're going to bring up a topic. We're going to discuss it. We're going to look at what you all have to say about it. We're going to open it up maybe to some questions and things like that. But I was thinking about it because I published my article today of where I finally put it out there, the unpopular opinion of the Steelers don't need to take a running back at all in this draft. The reason I feel that is because it's not like you're looking at their depth chart. You might not like everything on it. You might say, I don't know. I really don't know about Gareth White, or Trey Edmonds. I'll be honest with you. If Trey Edmonds makes a 53-man roster, it's going to be because other people are really injured. And the biggest thing that people have with James Conner is his durability. But I'm like, but are you ready to completely give up on these things? Because, like, for example, I've thrown the stat around a lot. I originally forgot to put it in the article and had to add it later. 32 teams in the NFL. There's 32 players that were the leading rusher for their teams. Out of those 32, only 12 of them played in all 16 games. So there were 20 teams last year who had their leading rusher missed at least one game of the season. That's life in the NFL for a running back. There was people making comments of, oh, well, James Conner's running style is going to make him, you know what? Anyone who takes the ball when it's running between the tackles, you're going to get pounded. End of story. That's just how it is. So yes, there's a big chance for injuries at that position. Absolutely. But at the same time, I was going back and, with free NFL Game Pass they have right now, for those of you watching and listening, and if you didn't see the article on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com that I did last weekend, NFL Game Pass is free through May, maybe even longer. You can free account, sign up. You don't even have to put in a credit card number. They're not going to charge you if you don't cancel or anything like that, like they do with Netflix or Prime or stuff like that. You don't even have to do it. All you got to do is say, sign me up. You get an ID. It's free. You could watch full game replays like we're doing the watch party right now people were supposed to be watching week 15 of 2018 where the Steelers beat the Patriots 17-10. That article is going to come out Thursday morning for people to then discuss the things that they saw there. I was watching suffering through week 17 of 2019, Steelers against the Ravens. And
why?
I'm good question.
Why would you watch that train wreck?
Well, I'm only through the first half. Well, because honestly, up until like the last, I can't remember if it's 3 minutes or 4 minutes of the first half, Steelers were winning the game. They were up 7-6. And not only that, Benny Snell Jr. was running the football well. I mean, the drive where he scored the touchdown, he was running all over the place. Now, early on, I'd noticed one play on the All-22 where where the seam opened up in a different spot, and he could have stepped to there possibly, but he didn't. But then he busted out a 20-some yard run to get him down to the goal line, or it might have been 15. I don't know. It felt like a long run because it was in the rain, where there didn't seem like there was a hole at all, and he just found a crease and went and exploded through it, and things like that. So I'm not in the camp of, well, Ben Snell's not the answer. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that we don't know that he's not. So I raised the point of if you draft a running back at 49, how much playing time are they going to see? And then I'm like, why am I talking just about running back? That's a great topic for the show. What position could the Steelers draft at the 49th pick overall and have them contributing the most, meaning playing the most snaps on either offense or defense in 2020? What position do you see that if the Steelers take it, they could contribute more snaps this year than maybe another position?
My turn to answer that.
Yeah, I set it up for a long time.
I told you I had a couple different routes you could go.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go.
But I'm gonna go what came to me first. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be offensive lineman.
Okay.
I think offensive lineman could potentially see the most snaps.
That's one of those positions that I'd say could. That's the one with an asterisk next to it.
But that's with pick number 49.
Yeah.
Then you also again, I could play a lot of what ifs. You're also hoping that some of those guys that you think might be up there a little higher could potentially slide a little lower. And if they do, it'll be tough to pass up. And if you get one of those guys at 49, then you're like, hey, they're going to see the field.
Yeah. Offensive line is interesting, and I'm thinking more guard. Although I know that that this draft is a lot deeper at tackle, because let's just say, for example, let's say they do, and I would love for them to draft an offensive lineman with their top pick, and I also feel that they don't have to play right away, but they need to address that position with some draft pedigree, because the last time they've taken an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds was when they drafted David DeCastro. And I mean, look at that. It's been that long. They need to reinvest in the position. But to say what you're going to say real quick, they could draft someone at 49 that doesn't play all year on the offensive line.
They could.
But they could also draft someone at 49 who wins the job, let's say, at left guard, and then you have Wisniewski as your backup. You know what I'm saying? They would at least have the opportunity. It wouldn't be handed to them, and they would have to ball out. But if they did, they could play 100% of the offensive snaps in 2020, if that happened to be the case.
Now, there's a second reason for me going offensive lineman. All right. Mm-hmm. We also know Coach Tomlin isn't always huge on as I told you, I have about 3 of these, and I picked 3 different. I have 3 different positions I'm thinking about here, and all of them have to do with the fact that Coach Tomlin doesn't always like to play rookies a whole lot. So I think about what positions do we have where we've done that. Mm-hmm. Offensive line is one where we have.
So yes, that is absolutely true, and I mean, and that's the thing that I was going to mention, that with the offensive line is a special category of it's feast or famine.
Correct.
In my opinion, you could step in case of an injury or something like that, but it could be one of those things that you either earn. I mean, Marquise Pouncey was a 1st-round draft pick and was not expected to win the job at center his rookie year, but he did. Okay. A situation like that. Now, granted, he was 18? Was he, I'm going to get it wrong, and someone's going to correct me. I'm thinking he was like,
where's West when we need him?
Yeah, like he was like the 18th pick. Because the only reason I'm thinking of 18th is because I thought his brother was the next year was drafted 17th, and gave him a hard time about it. Although Marquise is the better player, but offensive line is one of those things that I definitely feel this way. Can I go ahead and give my number one?
Please do.
My number one of who I think could see the most playing time goes back to what you were saying of how they don't like to throw the rookies in right away.
Yep.
There's some other ones that I think could even be higher than this, but this is one that I just want people to think about. And that is outside linebacker. The reason I have outside linebacker up there so high is the only way another outside linebacker is going to see the field is if Bud Dupree and TJ Watt, are 100% healthy throughout the entire game of all 16 games. And they get in such good shape that they never come off the field. Yeah, that's not going to happen. The Steelers are going to have another player that's going to rotate in there. Is it going to be Ola Adeniyi? Is it going to be Tuzar Skipper? Could be. But if the Steelers take an edge rusher at 49, which I don't think that they have to, but if they did, I instantly see that player as their number one backup and who will rotate in, not necessarily start, but we'll see a decent bit of snaps, and then could also be the guy. I also think that's smart because if you don't sign Bud Dupree beyond, if he plays under the tag this year, and then you're not going to sign to beyond, then you have someone else there to step in. Right. But I could see them playing a good bit of snaps based on what the Steelers roster is right now for this year. So, what else do you have? Oh, Solarvo said Marquise was 18, but he said Mike was 15. Okay. I knew Mike was somewhere close to him. He's not a Steeler, so I wouldn't think of it. I wouldn't think that.
The other, I got two other positions, and I'm going to throw them out there together.
Did I take one of yours?
No, you did not.
Okay.
No, believe it or not, my other two positions they're on the offensive side of the football, and you can say they're related, and that would be as if we went tight end or wide receiver.
Tight end or wide receiver. Yeah, I could see wide receiver because now again, someone did bring up the fact the Steelers did not put 4 wide receivers on the field very often over, last year. They didn't. So some people are like, oh, you draft a wide receiver at 49, they're going to see the field a lot right away, even if they're still number 4. Not necessarily. Now, the Steelers did put Johnny Holden, constantly kept putting him on the field whenever they were, 72 was reporting as eligible.
Yeah.
But all they were going to do was just run him deep and maybe throw him the ball twice and not come close to him. So I understand that. Now, the thing is with tight end,
I know
that one's kind of tough. I mean, tight end I thought was a key position that the Steelers could take at 49, and then they signed Ebron. Who to me is going to act almost as much as another wide receiver as he is a tight end, because they're going to split him out some at tight end as well. So assuming he's healthy and assuming McDonald's healthy. So I could see that. If they drafted a tight end at 49, I don't know if they would, because I don't know that it's the right draft class.
I don't think it is either.
Gentry's done. He's done. So, and maybe he's done anyway. Maybe they draft someone in the 5th round that's still better than him. It's hard to say.
I like whatever that
Steelers
somebody in the live chat. No, the one above him.
Oh,
the one that you never said, you never will try to pronounce. No, and he says, "What, tight end or running back?"
Yeah.
If we draft a running back,
he's going to be buried on the depth chart.
Correct. He is not going to see the number of snaps.
Yeah. And some people are like, oh, but what if it's still, what if it's, as I said in my articles, I'm like, as I said, if the Steelers could feel that they get a game-changing running back at 49 and they feel that's what they got, take them. And if they take them, I'm going to trust them to do the right, wise thing. There's so many people that are so convinced they have to go running back. And I'm like, if the chips don't fall right, that would be dumb to take a running back if things don't fall the right way. Either A, the right running back isn't there, or B, if you have a game-changing receiver, a game-changing linebacker of either type, I would still. I mean, if you had on your overall big board a running back at 28 and an edge rusher at 29, and both are available at 49, I'd still be more tempted to take the edge rusher over the running back because they're only one spot apart. But that's me, because I think they could incorporate them into the game plan and into the rotation much easier. It's a crowded running back room for the Steelers, and the way they are with rookies, they don't, maybe Jalen Samuels is the person that they realize it's time to move on from. Yes, this could very well most likely be James Conner's last year with the Steelers, because if you're constantly bringing in running backs on rookie deals, then you don't have to sign running backs to second deals. But I don't know for sure that the snaps are there unless it's they're going to have to come out and really prove themselves, which they could. To me, running back was one of those positions that I could say, yeah, they could see the field some. To me, I'm going to give my worst one.
Okay.
I'm going to give my worst one. The worst one by far is quarterback.
Correct.
when it just comes to playing time, because you draft a quarterback at 49, you hope they do not see a snap in 2020, because you hope Ben Roethlisberger takes every one. You hope that's not even true. You hope they see a few snaps, because the game's out of hand and they don't want to get Ben hurt. They let you come in on the last series and hand the ball off 3 times, or even maybe start in week 17, because it doesn't matter, because it's going to be a lot harder to do that now that there's only one team getting the bye. That was official today, that it will definitely be a 14-team playoff in 2020. So I don't know if you're going to see that as much, unless your position's really locked in, of teams just taking the week off in week 17. But that's the thing with the quarterback. And I'm not saying don't take one. You never know how things play out. But what I'm saying is that's a player that would be really difficult to see the field in 2020.
Right.
So, you agree with that one?
Yeah, I do. Because, I mean, for me, that would be my number one. Wouldn't see the field. After that, you could talk.
I got my number two. Of who wouldn't see the field?
Yeah, let me think for a minute.
Here you go. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, give it to me.
You ready?
Yep.
Cornerback.
That's exactly where I was. Going.
Cornerback, because you have your two studs locked in. Right. You gave the tender to Mike Hilton.
Correct.
You still have Cam Sutton as a backup at all around, even though you let Artie Burns go wisely. So you still have that backup, and you have Justin Lane, who did not play a defensive snap in 2019, which was exactly what we talked about in the Steelers preview. That would be great for him, is to not be forced into action, and he wasn't. So to me, if they draft a corner, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't, because they drafted, like I said, they drafted Justin Lane last year, hoped he didn't have to play a snap on defense, and he didn't. He did what they hoped. But is that what you want out of 49? When that's your first pick you have, is that all you want? Just that. Someone that comes out, plays some special teams, might not even dress all the time, never steps on the field on defense. So to me, that's the other position.
Right.
So I'm not going with Dennis's route. Yeah, I'm not talking about positions that I'll go draft, like punter, kicker, or long snapper. Just because, yeah. I mean, if they drafted a punter in the second round, boy, how do you think Steelers Nation would handle that? But if they draft the punter in the second round, he better be taking every punt and every hold, and he better be able to play safety. Yeah. Which I just said that because that was the word I saw pop up in there. So let's just look at some other positions and see how we do it. Another one that I thought would be high, I also think could be inside linebacker. Because, last year, Mark Barron played a ton of snaps.
Yeah.
And Vince Williams didn't play as many. Now, this year, obviously, going into it, it's going to be Bush and Williams.
Yeah.
But if you get a linebacker that's more of your pass coverage guy, do you see them when they're going into nickel and things like that? Do you see, once again, non-running situations, them taking Vince Williams off the field and putting a more, let's just say, a little bit more athletic linebacker and not the run stuffing inside linebacker? I could see that. You know what I'm saying?
I could too. If we ended up with inside linebacker, they would be like we were using Bush later in the year, because he was starting a lot early. He was getting a lot of snaps early in the year because Barron was in and out of the lineup. Later on, he wasn't in quite as much. We saw him scale back as the year went on. That's what I thought we would have seen all the time, probably. Mm-hmm. If we went inside linebacker again, they would be a part of a package.
Yeah,
and they'd get however many 18, 20 snaps a game based on that package.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another one. Let's stick to defense. Safety. I think if you draft a safety at 49, you're looking for that almost linebacker safety
the hybrid safety,
or you want a dime safety, or they call him dime linebacker a lot. That's really a safety. That if they draft that position at 49, I could see that player. They're not going to be a starter, but they're going to come on the field in sub-package football, and they're going to get snaps.
Right.
So, and then otherwise you have defensive line. And defensive line, you could, if you go someone at 49, it better be someone who's capable of playing.
Going to see the field.
Capable of playing nose tackle. You don't want to take another guy that can only play, quote unquote, 3-4 defensive end, because which means you can't slide down. Now, if you're a defensive tackle, that means you slide. I was amazed watching, breaking down the all 22 from week 17 with Baltimore is how much even Cam Hayward was lined up inside the guard a lot of times when the Steelers were in nickel or dime, that he was kicking in down low. And boy, I got to think about it. I was looking at it as much as anything to try to break down Bud Dupree. And I'm like, Bud Dupree's got such a good deal in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, this is on a side note. He's got such a good deal.
Yes, he does, doesn't he?
Pittsburgh, because think about it. This is what I saw, and I only made it through the first half, and this is what I saw. Between your two outside linebackers, he's the obvious number 2. So if you're worried about chipping somebody with a tight end, who's getting chipped? TJ Watt.
I would say it's not Bud Dupree.
Yeah, it's not Bud Dupree. You're worried about TJ Watt. Then you even just look at his side of the line and who's going to be drawing the double teams. He's playing next to Cam Hayward. The second best interior defensive lineman in the NFL. Hands down. The only one who's better is Aaron Donald. You've got Aaron Donald, Cam Hayward. Then you could talk about other players, but that's how it was for 2019. So you've got a player that good right next to you that even the guys, the offensive linemen, the blockers on that side of the line have to focus more on him than you. And you're not getting chipped because they got to worry about chipping the guy on the other side. He's got the best situation in the world right now. He should say, like, you know what? I'm going to look like a better player here than anywhere else right now because guess what?
Last year,
I've got the number 1 outside linebacker from last year on the opposite side and the number 2 defensive tackle from last year playing next to me. Nobody else has that.
Right.
Sorry. I had to go on my little rant.
So what Dupree gets to do is say and work on in practice all week is all I've got to work on is my one-on-one.
Yes. Work on your one-on-one. And do it.
So
I think you did a good job with the last year.
And forgot, and could forget about trying to work through double teams. I'm just going to work on all my one-on-one moves and win those battles, and I'm going to have a heck of a year. And he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. And now do it again, bud.
Well, this would be one of those things where people are like, oh, see, the Steelers were wise for not signing Dupree. Look, he went on somewhere else and didn't do anything well. If he goes on and has to be the number 1 somewhere, I can't. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying it's not as easily transferable as what people think.
Correct.
Because he's not. TJ Watt, he was almost defensive player of the year. Great argument that he should have been. He is number 1 ranked edge rusher, Pro Football Focus, whether you care about those rankings or not. You can't deny the year that he had. And then you have the amazing year of Cam Hayward right next to him. And it's just Bud Dupree should realize that if he can do it again now, then he's really going to make bank the next year. And if it's not with the Steelers, whoever signs him could be in trouble. So we'll see how that plays out. So let's finish it out. Do we have any other positions? We mentioned running back a little bit. I'm going to flat up ask you this one. Steelers draft a running back at 49. Week 1, assuming everyone's healthy, where is he on the depth chart? Don't even have to put a name on it. Let's say they even got a guy at 49 that people thought, wow, they got a steal there. Where is he on the depth chart come week 1?
I'm leaning towards, and I'll explain why I'll put it this way, is I'm leaning towards 3.
That's my answer.
Okay, because he's not going to be your one, and he's not going to be your third down back or your change of pace guy. He is basically going to be, if your number one guy gets knocked out, he might get to split some carries.
Yeah. I think it's James Conner, and then I think the next man up is Benny Snell Jr. And I know a lot of people are saying he's too slow. I'm telling you, people, go back and watch the last game of the season. He had 91 yards on 19 carries against the Ravens. I mean, I don't know why people have these things stuck in their mind. And yeah, in a downpour. Mm-hmm. And that's why I keep saying, people are like, oh, our running game was atrocious last year. Yes, it was. It was. Was it about the guys carrying the football as much as we think?
No, and you and I have talked about this before, that it was as much on the guys up front as it was. We were
as much as the guy taking the snap. The defense had no fear of the quarterback. So, yeah.
No fear of the quarterback. So they were bringing guys. Because they were bringing guys, the offensive line could get no push.
Yep.
We were fighting an uphill battle.
I'm going to bring this one up. I know we had autocorrect that changed carries to the name Carey, but that's okay. Steeler fan 74. It says the more carries Snell got last season, the better he ran. Absolutely. You can just go back and just look at his stats by game. And I mean, he had games he didn't get any carries. So, and he was the guy that the Steelers, I mean, there were some games even late in the year that you didn't see much of Snell, because the Steelers were kind of saving him to come out and pound at the end of the game, and the game situation wasn't right for him to do that. They weren't winning or things like that. So I don't get why people were down on Snell. And this is something that I mentioned in the article. I don't know if you had it was a longer article of mine today. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or not. But
I was pretty busy today. I did not get a chance to read your articles today.
But I'm like, you look at the Steelers offense. People want to give the wide receivers a pass because of the quarterback throwing the ball, somewhat of a pass. Some people want to give the tight ends a pass because with the young quarterbacks, they weren't worked into the game plan as much. There's some people, I myself included, that want to give a little bit of a pass to some of the issues with the offensive line because of the quarterback play. Ben Roethlisberger can even help your offensive line produce more. But yet when it comes to running back, the quarterback didn't matter. Okay, the quarterback didn't matter. None of that other stuff mattered. People wanted to say,
the quarterback just has to turn around and hand them the ball.
Yeah, that's not true. That is so not true. No. And that was the biggest thing.
Can't throw. What's everybody looking for?
Yeah, maybe James Conner gets hurt and doesn't even play a game this year. I don't know, which could then show why the Steelers, do need another running back. But I do feel that even taking one at 49, they could get lost in the room. And maybe emerge, during a time of injury or something like that, or just over the course of the year. That's just been my thought process on it. People just think that if the Steelers take, I don't know, I don't even know all the players, like Swift, Dobbins, there was another name that's out there that people say that's instantly going to be our starting running back week 1 first snap. Not so fast. I really don't see it. And that's part of and I think that's why some people are so enamored by taking a running back with their top pick, is because they think that's what's going to happen. And I don't think that's the way the Steelers are going to do it. Not the way I would do it. I don't think that's the way they're going to do it. Okay.
It's what's kind of fun with this topic tonight is what's fun with this topic tonight, trying to say, hey, who would play, who would get in, who would get snaps, really kind of runs back to what I was talking about last week is, boy, isn't it nice going into this draft that we're not like, oh my gosh, we have to have this position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. And you saw what happened. Now, first of all, I brought up the comment from Kevin Colbert that says running back by committee. I'm all for that. I'm okay with that. And if the Steelers take a running back high, I feel they have to go running back by committee to try to get everyone some carries. I have no problem if they want to handle it the way San Francisco did. I just don't know that that's what they want to do, and that's why they may not look for that position there. So, I mean, there's some people in the live chat that's insisting on it's got to be a running back and he's going to be the leading rusher. Think it through. I hate to tell you this, when James Conner's healthy. If James Conner is healthy, he's going to be the guy getting the majority of the carries. End of story. End of story. The Steelers aren't going to do it another way. I don't see it unless he shows he is so ineffective. And I don't think he's going to. I don't think any of the running backs would show that they're ineffective. I could see it. Jalen Samuels being the odd guy out. So we've kind of gone into that. Dennis, it's funny. So you know what, Robert? We're going to see. I don't think you know what you're talking about, but that's me personally. So let's see. Do we have any questions from you guys here to close out the show?
There you go. I do like Kelvin Colbert's
I didn't even thought of it. That's Kelvin Colbert. We always say I always say Kevin.
Yeah,
it's Kelvin.
Where
Colbert.
He says he wants a playmaker at 49, and I kind of get what he's going there. If there is that splashy guy out there, why not at 49? But again, I wouldn't be surprised to. Well, it depends on what you call a playmaker. You got a big mauling guard sitting out there somewhere that you could put to be, he and DeCastro bookends on Pouncey. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go either.
Yeah. I don't know that player's out there at 49.
I don't know that player's out there either.
I don't know that there's that great guard that we could be excited about at 49 because I don't know, which is funny because the mock draft I did yesterday for Mock Draft Monday was a player who, although he played tackle his last year and a half in college, he's projected to be a guard in the NFL. But I could honestly see them getting a good guard in round 3.
Yeah.
That, just based on the way this draft is going. So yes, Robert Bell was the leading rusher his rookie season, but the Steelers didn't have any other running backs already at the time. So that's why. I mean, they didn't have, that for a reason. And that's why, people are like, well, the Steelers took Bell in the second round. Yes, they did. But that was at a time because they had a desperate need at running back.
Correct. That was oh my gosh, they've got to get a running back. There were a lot of people who would have liked to take a running back in the first round, but I remember that draft, and it was like, no, we knew we could get the guy we wanted. One of those guys we wanted, we could get in round 2. Yeah. So that's what we did. And you're right. That was one of those years. It was like, oh my gosh, who are we going to get as a running back? Because we have to get somebody.
Yeah, because you don't want to. I mean, and when you're set up in that situation, you don't want it to be like 2018 when, boy, the Steelers needed an inside linebacker and they didn't get one. And I think that's why they've taken the approach to free agency they had the last 2 years is they don't want to go into the draft needing anything. They still might want to get a running back at 49, but they're not going into the draft needing it. It's not a need. And that was the main topic of my article. It's not a need to even have one at all. If they come out of this draft with no running back because it doesn't fall right, they're okay. They're fine. So that's just how it goes. We have a question here. It says Dave, but I'm going to ask this to Rich. It says, do you see us picking up a veteran quarterback before the season starts?
No.
I don't either because I don't think money. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's with the new CBA, they can move stuff around. They're really limited now because they only have 2 more players they could even
right
restructure.
But I'm really sitting there looking at it. It's like,
is it that much of an upgrade from what you have for a decent price? I mean, I know people talk about Jameis Winston and stuff like that. I mean, Jeff is still even one of those guys that thinks this is a possibility. I'm like, why in the world would he even sign a $5 million deal? That's not what he's looking for at all. He wants a $30 million deal. He's obviously not going to get that as long as we are into free agency. But I mean, even at $5 million for one season, I still don't want that because for the same reason, I'm like, if you take a quarterback at 49, you're taking a player that you hope doesn't step foot on the field. And I don't want to pay that kind of money for that. I mean, it's funny because I keep saying, and this was the thing that I kept bringing up on Brian's show last night when I was typing in, I was trying to cook dinner and type in at the same time. Is that the whole win now thing. They use the phrase win now about 47 times in their show last night, him and Tony. And I hate that mentality for the Steelers and it might just be me thinking of it the wrong way. Is that to me, when I hear win now, I think win now and not later. My example has always been the Florida Marlins. I like to use the term instead of all in. They are pouring all in this year. And the reason I say it's all in, because guess what? You can go all in next year too. And then you can go all in the year after. And then you can go all in the year after that. And you can build on that. But win now means that you're doing it knowing that at another time you're going to say we're not winning. And that's just not the way the Steelers have ever done it. That's not the way they
their philosophy is win.
So let's just say all win. And I say the Steelers are all win this year. In my opinion, I think the Steelers are all win with Ben Roethlisberger this year. That if it's not Ben, then I think the Steelers feel the only way they are getting to the Super Bowl, and the only way they're going to win the Super Bowl was with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback. So we might as well put all the pieces around him to have the best chance to win it all, rather than spend one nickel on a backup quarterback to where we could make the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game, and that's all the further. Let's go all in on Ben Roethlisberger, since we're already paying him anyway, and do everything we can to make the rest of the team better around him. And if Ben's hurt again, or if Ben doesn't come back right, then oh well. Because I'm sorry, even if you have someone like a Jameis Winston, he's not Ben Roethlisberger, which means your chances of winning the Super Bowl, even with him, they're like Super Bowl or bust, and Ben's the guy that can get there. How do you feel about that, Rich?
Totally agree. Everything based on the Steelers needs to be around the fact that Ben Roethlisberger is our quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's why, for me, everything rests on how does Ben come back. If he comes back and is any semblance of the player we know he is, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
If he comes back and it is really good Ben Roethlisberger,
2017 Ben Roethlisberger,
we could be in really good shape.
Absolutely. And like I said, anybody else, barring maybe, 8 other quarterbacks that are all on other teams anyway, you're not going to get the same results. So you might as well say, hey, let's just roll everything we can with Ben. So Dennis said our current roster says your assessment, he's liking it a lot. I am too, but I'm a Steeler fan, so I'm always going to like it. You think they're doing all right with what they have on their roster so far, Rich?
I do, because I'll go back, because I constantly go back to it. It's because it's going to give us what I see as flexibility in the draft. We are going to be able to take guys that we see as best player available, or someone said earlier, some of those playmakers, because our roster is filled out to the point where we're not saying, oh my gosh, we better get a guy. Oh my gosh, we got to have an inside linebacker. Oh my gosh, we got to have an edge rusher. Oh my gosh, we got to have a tackle. Oh my gosh, we got to have a wide receiver.
Nope.
This will be one of those years where if we feel that the Steelers, that Colbert and Tomlin, if they reach for a guy, they better know what they're doing, or they're going to get crucified by people, because we don't have to do it because we have to have a specific position.
Absolutely. Completely agree. All right, here we go. Really? We don't have any good running backs now?
No,
Watch a game. Watch a 2018 game. Because players don't just go from Pro Bowl to absolutely terrible, but just because they could never play in the first place. That's just ridiculous. Are the Steelers going to run enough 4 wide receiver sets to make a high draft pick at the position worth it? Says even with 2 really good tight end options the team has now. This is from Braden Miller. What do you think, Rich?
Well, somebody actually brought it up earlier when they said, a lot of people are now saying that Juju's not a number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go take a wide receiver if you think you can get a guy who's your number 1?
And that's what X says here. He says one whole year saying Juju's not a number 1. Why not go get one and think that they're a number 1? If they feel that they got someone that's Juju caliber above, and that's what they're going to do there, go for it. I mean, even if you have 4 good wide receivers, you just run different, and you're not putting 4 on the field at a time. You can still run packages with that. I don't feel like they have to take a wide receiver, but yeah, if they've got something that they feel was special. I mean, remember all the people that hated the Juju pick at the time because wide receiver wasn't the biggest need the Steelers had.
You already have AB. Why do we have to go get this guy?
Exactly, and now he's the that I don't want him to take another guy. Let's just say this: another second round James Washington isn't going to excite me, because James Washington, to me, I mean, Deontay Johnson's higher on the depth chart after 1 year as a third round pick than James Washington after 2 years as a second round pick. Nothing against James Washington. I love James Washington. I think he's a great player. I think he's a fantastic blocker as a wide receiver. I think he's tough. I think he's gritty, and I think he's a good player. But you don't, let's not do another James Washington as our top pick in the draft. If you think you got an explosive playmaker that brings a little something different to the table, whether it's the really tall guy, the speedy guy, or both, go for it. So, okay. Let's see what do we got. Here you go. Deal with it. Coming in. He's like, do you think there's a chance they go safety to play deep with Fitz and move Edmonds to Bear and spot inside? I'm not going to say it's impossible. I don't know that they're going in the draft thinking that's what they have to do.
Correct.
But the position that could present itself.
Correct.
I mean, if you feel like you could say, hey, we're going to upgrade that's it. I mean, it could even be a situation where, especially with it being a rookie, where you have Edmonds playing strong safety, but then when you go sub package, your 49th pick would come in, and that would be your strong safety, and Edmonds would be what you would call your dime linebacker. He would slide to the other position. That's not even beyond the realm of possibility. Yeah, no. I think safety is a position that they could very well go with. If I don't know how deep they are at safety, the draft is at safety or everything. There's no names that are jumping out at me right now. I haven't seen any mock drafts that have a safety going to the Steelers there, but I'm not against it if the Steelers think they got the right person. Just as long as they're not reaching, I am good.
Don't reach.
Don't reach. I mean, like I say, even if it's a running back, as long as it's not a reach at running back, don't reach. Don't reach. Don't reach for anything this year, because you don't have to reach at all. Okay. Colbert said we are good at quarterback. And I actually listened to Kevin Colbert today. And he also said that when people someone specifically asked about upgrading wide receiver and running back, his answer to that was the biggest upgrade we're going to have at those two positions is a healthy Juju Smith-Schuster and a healthy James Conner. That was his answer. That's what the general manager said today on the conference call. So he still didn't dismiss the idea of adding either position in the draft, but he's still saying those, that's the upgrade, is actually having those guys playing healthy. I mean, people, once again, they're saying Connor gets hurt too. Why not draft the top tier running back? Because you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. That's the biggest point that I'm making, because some people that are all about the running back, they're like, how they're going to, throw the remote at the television if the Steelers don't take a running back at 49. They have that. They don't need to be that way. I mean,
I'd love to really see the Steelers do rank out 100 guys.
He followed it up. If they are there. Right. Okay.
Yes. Rank out 100 guys. The 100 guys you think are the best guys going into the draft. And when it gets to your pick at 49, take the highest guy on your list that you haven't crossed off already.
You don't even have to do 49. Do 100. Do 50. Right. You pick 49. That's just what you got to do. So, here you go. Steeler fan friend said, I believe there'll be a lot of good players at the 49 when we pick. Yeah. Do you want to know what I think it is, though? I completely agree. What do we focus on? Last year, we were focused on what are the Steelers going to do at 20, or are they going to move up? And they did move up, which was great. We focus on what's going to be there when we pick. Because we don't have that first round pick, I think we're appreciating all those other players that are going to be there in the second round now, because we don't have the chance of because that's where our focus is. So I think the Steelers are going to have options. I think, no joke, I think if the Steelers do a top 50, if they do a top 50, I would not be shocked if even 20 of them are available. Wouldn't be beyond the realm, because they might be excluding players. I mean, do the Steelers?
They're not going to ballistic.
They're going to put Joe Burrow in their top 50,
right?
I mean, obviously, if Joe Burrow is sitting there at 49, they might want to take him. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But they might, players like that, they might not leave out. 20 might be ambitious. 10. I'll say 10.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be shocked to see 10 of their top 50 being there. I mean, if I listed up my top 50 right now, I could guarantee that probably, because people, I mean, prime example, my mock draft last year at 20, I had the Steelers taking Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. And he went, I almost want to say third. I'm pretty sure it was third or fourth to the Raiders, because someone they had way up ahead that they tried to keep under wraps. There's a guy that a lot of people are going to have sitting there, in the 60s that someone's going to take to start the second round because because it's somebody they want. So, so, it is what it is. But it's so funny how things have changed. A lot of people felt the Steelers needed to see what would be there at tight end at 49. Then they signed Eric Ebron, and they're like, yeah, I don't know that they need a tight end at all. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. So, yeah. So, someone said about, I'll bring it up where Robert said, what about the tight end Moss from Louisiana in the fourth? I would even say as their second, fourth. That's not out of the realm of possibility. If you think you can get someone who's going to be a tight end that, you kind of have around for a year and can maybe slide into more of it in a year or two. Once you get to the fourth round, especially with 2 picks in the fourth round, especially your second, fourth round pick, you could basically take any position you want that you're saying, I don't want this player to play this year. I'm going to say the fourth round in general this year. You get the fourth round, you're saying, I don't want to play this year. We want to have them, and they're going to be someone we want to look to really stepping up later on. So, Kelvin Colbert says we need a decent kick returner. You mean for kickoffs? See, and that's part of the reason why I almost don't want to see the Steelers go running back so high. Is because I felt Kareth White was by far their best kick returner they had last year when he did it towards the end of the year. I mean, by far, because he had the speed and everything else. And when it comes to punt returning, once again, you had a was he second team All Pro even? I don't know, but Deontay Johnson was up there because with his punt returns, and he didn't even do it for half the season. So, okay. There was just skipped on me, and I had a good one. Here we go.
I think I knew which one you were headed for. Now I'm trying to find.
I was going to say what X had to say.
There we go.
As he said, other question: should we make a good, meaning an elite defense? Should we make that work on that going through the draft? So, and it's funny because then Gyra followed up and said our defense is already elite. Yeah, but you also don't want it to fall off. So,
again, we're talking if there's going to be a position that slips further than we think it should in the draft.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes it goes and it's like, somebody starts it and then you kind of get a little run on the position or similar positions. Somewhere something's going to slip and something's going to slide down a little more. And that's what we need to be there and be able to look at and say, can we take advantage of this?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. It's funny because I don't even know some of these players. I can't even think. I don't watch enough college football. And someone else said this in here too. I don't watch enough college football to really understand, and maybe that's sometimes my fear with running backs. I mean, another prime example. Do you want to take another quarterback out of the Big 12? I mean, no one plays defense in the secondary of the Big 12, and quarterbacks just throw crazy. Do you want to take be wary of a quarterback out of the Big 12? Be wary of various other things based on conference, and I think the Steelers do a pretty good job with that. I mean, so I don't know. Some people are asking, like, how come one running back's ranked so much higher than another and things like that. I don't know. Maybe it's based on their conference. Maybe it's based on other things. So it's just, when it comes to the draft, I basically rely on other people to do the breakdowns and me to gather up all the information that I can from those breakdowns in order to form my opinion. Um, so I don't know. Anything else you want to bring up? I've kind of dried up with any kind of questions or anything out of the live chat. I'm all caught up in anything.
No, just I will continue to pound it in terms of when it comes to the draft. I really just want to see the Steelers get their guys listed that they want to get out there. Just go get what you think is the best guy.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's edge rusher, middle linebacker, running back, wide receiver, position doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
If you've got a guy that you think is the best possible guy out there and fits into what we do as a team and is the kind of guy that we like to get, because we always take that into account too. What kind of person are you getting there? Yeah. Go get that guy. Just go get that guy at 49 and we'll figure it out and make it work.
Yeah. And for those people, Kevin Colbert did kind of dismiss the notion of moving back into the first round this year. I'm thinking he doesn't know that it's necessary. I could see them, if they do anything, they could move up in the second round, but I don't think they could move all the way back into the first. I think they're going to be able to get a good player at 49. So I'm kind of excited about it. And it's funny because Steeler Fan 74 says draft will be a little dull this year. I'm actually going to be more intrigued in round one. I'm going to pay attention to all of round one more than I have in the past. Because I'm going to care about every pick, because it's going to it's going to help me to size up what's going to be going on in day two.
Yep. What position or what guys have slid down that are going to open up possibilities, are going to open up a different possibility for us than what we think might be possible at 49.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, please. I mean, and I'm just bringing up the running back example as main, just because that's the one I've seen that people argue about the most that they have to take there. The biggest thing to let people really understand is I don't want the Steelers to really think they have to take any position. I really want them to take the best player, if that's who's there. But I mean, so many times I thought the Steelers were going to take this player, and then that player's gone. I mean, it's funny because he didn't pan out very well, but I thought for sure the one, I can't even remember what year it was, that the Steelers were going to draft Eli Apple. And then he ends up going really, really high to the Giants, because I saw him mocked to the Steelers in a lot of mock drafts. And then that I find that if there's someone that I'm really hung up on that I want the Steelers to get, they generally are not going to be available in the Steelers pick. And the same thing would have happened last year with Devin Bush had they not traded up. So
actually, Robert brings up a great point. Trask is going to be awesome this year because of all this time with no sports.
Absolutely.
I'll probably watch and follow. Like, I always keep tabs on the draft, but I'll probably really be watching the draft this year, just because there's really not been a lot going on. Getting tired of watching, old sports.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because part of me is like, I don't want to watch old sports, but then I get into the all 22 film breakdown and I just go right back into coach mode again. So part of me is like, I could sit and do that all day, but that's just me geeking out again. But yeah, thank you all once again for tuning in. I know at times I got a little bit flustered with stuff, and honestly, I'm not offended by anything. I know some people feel strongly about what the Steelers should take. I don't feel strongly about anything specific. I feel strongly about the Steelers getting the best player they can. That's where my strength lies. So Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you're checking us out on the podcast. I tried to help some people out when they left some comments on YouTube. We try to start right around 9:00 every Tuesday. I know some people would like to know what it is. That's what we aim for. Tomorrow night will be the standard with Jeff and Lance. They generally start around the same time too, around 9:00. Then on Thursday, you'll have the Steelers preview with myself, Jeff, and Brian Anthony Davis. Jeff almost every night says he wants to start before 8:30, and then we don't get going till 9, just because of stuff and everything with us, with kids and bedtime and all that other stuff. So look for us anytime then. Friday night, you got Lance's. Yeah, I said it. That could go off anytime now with Lance being shut in California. Sometimes it's really late, sometimes it's really early. It all depends. Burning question. I think that's me this week. I have to make sure I'm ready to go with that. Then Sunday we got the homer and the hater coming back, which that show's really becoming an awful lot of fun as those guys that embrace those roles. But it's funny, they don't have to embrace much because they come so naturally to them. Which was funny because when I was on with,
isn't that where the name came from? Because it was so easy to peg them that way.
Yeah, exactly. And that could have even been a suggestion from people in the live chat, from all I know. When I was on, when they had Ian on the standard to talk some numbers, and I wanted to be able to ask some numbers questions, they did a Homer and Hater show as a second show right after that. And Lance is like, come on the show. I'm like, nah, Homer and Hater, you guys, it being the two of you guys and the way you guys are with each other, that's what that show's meant to be. Except last week they did kind of gang up on Lance because Chris Carter from DK Pittsburgh Sports was on to help out with Jeff. So that was entertaining. But Homer and Hater on Sunday. Then you've got usually early between 5 and 5:30 is when you're looking at Brian and Tony going with the Q&A. Tony's going to have his own segment in that show cut up this week. I can't remember what they said the name was going to be. Something with tone deaf.
Nice.
Something like that. And make sure you're checking out the chat once again, checking out the website. Lots of good information there. Liking the videos, doing all you can. We thank you all. I'm kind of still going on because I've been looking forward to this all day. It's so nice to spend time with you all. I'm glad you guys enjoy each other's conversation in the live chat. I guess it's time I have to wrap it up. Anything else you want to say, Rich?
Continue your social distancing.
Yes, that's why we gotta. We just get this time together every week. So I'm kind of sad for it to be over, but I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy. I'm excited. The draft is coming up, and let's find out who these new guys are that we get to be excited about. So as Lance always tells us, to tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Thanks for geeking out with us, guys.